All right, welcome and thank you for taking the time to come and listen to sports finance. Sports finance is an interesting area. What I'd like to do with this presentation is to explain why Saudi Arabia is spending so much money on sports and what the big players are going to be going forward. Now, in order to understand what's going to happen in the future, it makes sense to go backwards. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to look quickly at the 1950s, 60s, 70s, some of the sports stars at each of those stages, what's happening with media rights and sponsorships during that time period, and then that brings us to Saudi Arabia and to the things that are going on right now. Quite big changes coming in sports as we know it. STARTRADER is a company that you will recognize as the broker with offices in cities where 5 billion out of the 8 billion people on this planet live. And all of us are blades. We all like to watch sports or we like to play sports. I like to do both, and I think that's probably true for many of us on this call right now. Before I started this, I started off by reaching out to some of the people who trade at STARTRADER. So Khaled is a good example. He trades with 27 friends, a tight team. He himself is the type of person who loves big plays. So he likes to watch NFL football, where the quarterback can throw incredible passes that can define a game. He likes to watch golf. Again, big shots can either cause a disaster or total success for people who are playing the game. And even boxing is something that Khaled is very much into, because you could go through a number of rounds which are super easy and bang, and the whole match is over. So that's Khaled, that's his type of sport. Dayu is different. I spoke to Dayu about this as well. She loves basketball, and the reason she loves basketball is because it's big, physical, and brutal. She likes to run a trading academy. She does run EAs on top of a trading academy. She has 25,000 friends on TikTok, which I'm always impressed by, because I don't have 25 friends, and she has 25,000 on TikTok. So, hey, that's Dayu for us. But high-scoring physical games, that's what she likes watching, and that's her world. Arya is a cricket fan, our India Professional League IPL fan. So cricket is her thing. She doesn't like the old format. She likes the new format, and that's where the whole business is today. That's her world. Born 1997, she's a Game of Thrones fan, so that's what she's heavily into on the side. She's an IB client, so she works as an IB with copy trade and with Panam. Passive income earner, that's what she likes. And finally, I spoke to Lucas. Now, Lucas is from Brazil, and given that he's from Brazil, it's football, soccer. That's his world, his passion. Young guy, he's very intense. Whenever I have dinner with him, it's you come out of the dinner and you think, wow, that was really heavy. Multi-level marketing, pound, that's where his space is. And MT4 primarily. We do have MT5, of course, but he's focused on MT4. And he loves the beautiful game, the global game of football. That's his world. So those are the people I spoke to, and based on that, I then started looking at the different eras. Let's start from kind of the beginning, 1950s. In the 1950s, most of the revenues that sports clubs earned was from gate receipts. So people came to the sports game, they bought a ticket and watched the sport, and that's where the money was. Very simple. Sports as a whole had roughly $12 billion in today's money of revenue from advertising. And not bad. The audiences were pretty narrow, younger men primarily. And the big stars of the time were players like Pelé. And quite famously, in 1958, Pelé was the king when Brazil beat Sweden 5-2 in the World Cup final. What a player. He, of course, went on to play New York for New York Cosmos and had a great time over there later on. One of the finest players in the world. And a lot of people like to listen to sports on radio, but television wasn't that big yet, which changed in the 1960s. The quality of television coverage is became so good that people started watching TV properly for sports, which eroded the advertising income for sports. There was still good income from global advertising for sports, but whereas it was 12 billion in today's money in the 1950s, the total 1960s was only 13 billion. So at the time it felt like big money, but today that's not a lot of money. The biggest player in sports, in my opinion, in the 1960s was Wilt Chamberlain, who was about this much taller than I am. And I'm 190 centimeters, and Wilt Chamberlain was this much taller than I am. So truly big guy. He earned 100 points per game on average as a basketball player, which is incredible. He had 55 rebounds in one particular game. And it's just what a player Wilt Chamberlain was. If you could go on YouTube, and if you're into basketball, you will enjoy watching Wilt Chamberlain, a giant of a lad, in the 1960s. All in all, I think sports audiences have not been monetized as well as they could be. And I say that because in the 1950s, about 12% of all of the advertising spent was spent on sports. In the 1960s, that went down to about 7.5%, 8% in that region. And since then, it's gone down. So it's been steady at about 3% now for a couple of decades. That's below what it should be. And I want to talk to you about why. I can understand the decline because there's fragmentation in sports. There have been more and more leagues, more competition. Cable TV has done a lot of damage to sports audiences. Internet, same thing. And advertisers, they want big, passionate audiences. Well, you have that in sports, but if the media is fragmented, that makes it difficult. You want an emotional connection to fans, so that makes sports fans really interesting again. And you want an affluent and educated audience that will not damage your brand. So there is a lot of opportunity to increase ad revenues. If you look at the total advertising spend over the last 6 decades, it's grown exponentially. But like I said, the share of sports advertising has gone down. So there's room to improve. And let's talk about that. In the 1970s, TV and radio audiences expanded a lot. And there was a big change because advertising research came through in the 1970s. This was the decade when demographic research and psychographic research became scientific in advertising. Public relations or PR to build images changed a lot. Regulations started catching up. People couldn't target children in the way that they could do previously. And broadcast rights started to be a tradable asset, and sponsorships started to happen as well. In terms of the biggest stars in the 1970s, Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, in my opinion, and definitely in Khaled's opinion, was the big fight. He went through 56 unbeaten fights from 1960 to 1974, except for Joe Frazier. So he had the big fights with Joe Frazier in 1971, and then those classic fights with George Foreman in 1974. One which I think is especially interesting to watch is the 1974 Thriller in Manila, where they fought in the heat, and Muhammad Ali already knew that it would be super hot in the evening. And Muhammad Ali's tactic shocked everyone in boxing. So instead of going out and fighting throughout the whole match, he spent the first rounds on the ropes and just let George Foreman hit him time and time again. And then in the very last round, George Foreman got tired. And like Muhammad Ali famously said after the fight, it's the wrong place to get tired. And obviously Muhammad Ali won from that position. I can't imagine much in the world which would be worse than being tired in a fight against Muhammad Ali. So, hey, that's an incredible match to remember, and Khaled speaks about it quite often. Big game. Now, things changed in the 1980s. Advertising went global. That was a really big change. Interactive ads started happening, although they were very basic compared to the interactive ads we see now with internet technologies. You still had direct mail where people would dial up a number, infomercials, sports merchandise started happening in a way which hadn't happened before. And in terms of sponsorships, I think the biggest and most interesting sponsorship deal so far happened in the 1980s, and it's Michael Jordan. Even today, you can go into a sports shop and find some Nike trainers, which are Jordan Air Nike trainers. And a lot of people who buy Nike Air trainers today have never even seen Michael Jordan play basketball. We can see him. We could go to YouTube and check him out. I mean, Michael Jordan in the air was something else. He averaged 30 points per game through a whole season, 6 NBA championships, and 10 scoring titles. Not only was he an incredible offensive player, but he also got 9 all-defensive selections throughout his career. So the 1980s, for me, Michael Jordan territory, and Dayu will definitely agree with me, and I think all basket fans worldwide will agree that Michael Jordan was the big star during that time period. Then came the 1990s, and cricket on television took off in India. That's the big change. Advertising income increased, not the share of ads, but the income went up. Broader audiences across all of sports, so it went beyond only young to also middle-aged males and also towards females. Digital media rights and e-commerce started happening properly. And for me, in the 1990s, the star to remember is actually Sachin Tendulkar, the cricket player. Again, go to YouTube and check out the way he played 100 centuries, 18,000 runs in one-day internationals in ODIs, 18,000 runs, and 15,000 runs in Test cricket. For me, Sachin Tendulkar was the 1990s in sports, and Arya, of course, feels very strongly about that. The year 2000s changed very much because internet fragmentation began. And you can look at some advertising by old companies like CompuServe, where they futuristically talk about a future where you'll be able to buy things online. Wow. You'll be able to make payments online. Wow. Well, CompuServe were right about those things, but of course CompuServe doesn't even exist as a company anymore, I don't think. I think companies like Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, all these guys have totally taken over from what CompuServe thought would be the future. We also see a change in style because if you look at pop stars like Madonna, they started wearing sportswear, so you started getting deals between popular music and big brands. So which brands should these sports stars be wearing? So various sponsorship deals started happening. In 2007, the Indian Premier League, IPL, finally happened, the T20. Now, if you're not familiar with the IPL, then check it out. So instead of having 5 days of boring test cricket, 90 minutes like all the other mainstream media, if you look at Hollywood, if you look at Bollywood, if you look at football, if you look at basket, ice hockey, all of these big sports, they compress into somewhere between 60 and 120 minutes. 90 minutes is a popular number. That's where the audience sits. So people can handle about 90 minutes of media, and after that, it's too much. So T20 is designed for media, and it works. The IPL has been super innovative at everything it does. It was the first sport to be live on YouTube. The way that they've associated celebrities with everything within IPL is something for other people to copy. They've been leading the way. The experience when you go and watch is luxury seating, experiences around it. So for me, T20 is the biggest sport of the year 2000. However, in terms of sportsmen from the year 2000, I would argue that Tom Brady from the NFL, and I think Karsten would agree, Tom Brady from the NFL, 21 seasons as primary quarterback, a 75% win rate when he played, and 16 regular season wins. So just think about what a quarterback does. You receive the ball, you have a whole bunch of big guys coming for you, you have a split second to decide what you want to do with the ball, and you hit that pass, and you have to understand the space to which other people are going to run, land the ball in that space, and hope that your teammate is going to run into the space, catch the ball. That's what a quarterback does. And Tom Brady, again, go to YouTube, check him out. What a player he was. Absolutely awesome. Now, 2010 changed all that because social media came in. Starting in 2013, social media has been the primary place where people have picked up information in general. And the kings of social media are people like Messi in football, Ronaldo in football, even Ronaldinho. Now, Ronaldinho doesn't even play anymore. He stopped playing 15 years ago, 10 years ago. But even today, Ronaldinho has an incredible YouTube following for the things he did. Messi, Ronaldinho today gets 100 million views a year for his YouTube things. Messi and Ronaldo, they get about 1 billion. That's so big. And even players like David Beckham, who stopped playing 15 years ago, he's up at roughly 100 million for the things he did when he played. So social media in the 2010s became key to success in relating to audiences. Now, what does it look like today? Well, let's follow money for a moment. If you look at 2023, then about 75% of all the sports revenues come from media rights and from sponsorships. That means that teams could give away all the tickets to all their games and live from media rights and sponsorships and maybe from selling t-shirts. The flexibility to change the business model is total. And obviously, if most of your money comes from media rights and from sponsorships, you can even start controlling the type of ticket sales that you do so that you get well understood audiences with low reputational risk for the brands that you're promoting. So this changes things because from an advertiser's perspective, this makes sports super attractive. Your brand risk is low, and the passion with which we sports fans watch our games is high. So yes, this changes the world. And you can see it when you go online and you start looking at channels like Instagram, for instance. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are the biggest stars online on Instagram today. Both of them with roughly 500 million followers, so 500 million followers approximately, and 4 billion post reads. These numbers are just so big. So the individual stars are at the same size as the biggest clubs. So Real Madrid, Barcelona, the clubs that are super good, they are all the same size approximately as the biggest individual stars. So the Instagram A-list is a blend of media stars and clubs. Beyonce, if you look at music, then Ariana Grande and Beyonce have similar numbers to Messi, Ronaldo, Real Madrid. So it's right up there in the mix in terms of being interesting. LeBron James is another one who's super good. These people don't leave their social media to accidents. They manage it and they monetize it. It's a big part of the value that we have. If you go down from the A list to the B list, then even on the B list, you see the same thing. You see clubs like PSG. You see all stars like Ronaldinho. And like I said, Ronaldinho doesn't play football anymore. But as a media star, he's bigger than PSG, which is one of the biggest clubs in football, which I find amazing. David Beckham is also of the same size as Manchester United, the club that he used to play for. And Manchester United have a whole team doing their media. And there we are, individual doing the same thing. So what's going on going forward? Well, the thing that's going on is that we have direct relationships between us, between the audience and the individual superstar, and a direct relationship between us, the fans, and our clubs. Direct relationship. And we will find our stars and we will find our clubs regardless of the media. So we can use TikTok, we can use Instagram, we can use YouTube, we can use anything we want, but we don't really care. But we can use mainstream media. We're interested in the club and we're interested in the star. So from an advertiser's perspective, if you can advertise with the club, or if you can advertise with the star, suddenly you can have a direct relationship between your brand and the audience. And it doesn't matter where the channel is. That's a change. And that means that the value for advertisers of having a relationship with these clubs and players is huge and growing. So the fragmentation of all the channels doesn't really matter anymore. Audiences connect directly. And that's why the question of brand associations becomes so important. So if I have a product like STARTRADER and I want to promote STARTRADER, then doing it by sponsoring one of these stars or sponsoring one of these clubs can make a lot of sense. And that's why Saudi Arabia is coming so heavily into it. And it's coming into it from two angles, partly on a club level and partly on a country level. On a club level, there's a build or buy decision. They can either build their online presence so that they can get the sponsorships and media rights, because that's where the money is. Or they can buy players where the players come in, and then the association of the players with the club means that these clubs become super fans. So Al Nassr as a football club, respectfully, was not known by me as a football fan until Ronaldo started playing for Al Nassr. And now everyone in football understands who Al Nassr is. Of course, it's the club with Ronaldo. So that makes it a top club. So the build or buy decision in terms of brand building was a buy decision by Al Nassr. You can see the same for all of Saudi Arabia as a whole. Saudi Arabia is achieving successfully soft power with brand association. So they bring in these sports that we love, and as a consequence, we start liking Saudi Arabia more. There's a mental association between our favorite sport and Saudi Arabia, therefore we like Saudi Arabia more. It immediately skews positive the way that we think about Saudi Arabia as a country. It works, and that's why people have always been doing it. And if you look at other brands, Coca-Cola, happiness and fun, always sponsoring the Olympics and big festivals, Nike, Mike Jordan, like we spoke about earlier, Mercedes-Benz sponsoring Wimbledon for pennies, Volkswagen, Champions League sponsorship in football. It makes sense. So Saudi Arabia has over the last couple of years spent $3 billion for all of these things. And sorry, on golf alone. So $3 billion on golf alone by marrying its own LIV Golf and the PGA Tour. So that's in golf. Karsten loves that. That's big stuff for him. But they're doing other sports as well, practically every sport. I think there's going to be some really exciting heavyweight boxing happening in Riyadh shortly. These brand associations are important because there's money. If you can associate your product or your country or your club with something which is already famous, that's something you can monetize. There's money in there. So how much money is it? Are we talking big money or small money? Well, let's look at this one by one. NFL football. Now, the 10-year deal for NFL football that we're in right now was $113 billion. Split per year on an annual basis, it means that ESPN alone is paying $2.7 billion per year for its NFL rights. Fox is spending $1.5 billion a year for its NFL rights. CBS, $1 billion per year. NBC, $950 million. And Amazon Prime, again, $1 billion per year on NFL sponsorship. Why? Because those superstars like Patrick Mahomes, he plays quarterback, and he has achieved 5,000 yards of successful quarterback throws in a single season. So with players like Patrick Mahomes, I get it. I mean, people really want to watch people like that. And if you can associate your brand with it, fantastic. Khaled loves it. Khaled, big plays and thunder. That's, I mean, his trading is like that. So he's an MT5 trader. So I get that, totally. Dayu, of course, the social media trader, and the EA, the copy trade provider. She likes baskets, and on a similar thing, $75 billion, so it's a little bit smaller than the NFL, but the numbers are still big. ESPN, again, we're spending $1.5 billion per year on basket sponsorships, media rights, I should say. Turner Sports, $1.2 billion, $850 for Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime is in there, YouTube TV. The basket is huge, and I can understand that. I mean, Dayu loves to watch LeBron James. He's a massive guy, the leading NBA scorer. He has 4 NBA championships so far. There's more coming from him, unless he gets injured. I mean, what a player. Check him out on YouTube. Dayu is wild about LeBron James. Cricket, well, okay, so this is Aryan territory. Let me just emphasize, cricket is huge because of IPL T20. That's where the money is. That's where the excitement is. In India, there are 11 million jobs around the IPL. That's more people than many countries have. Cricket has brought in $3 billion of foreign investment into India. And Viacom 18 is paying $6.2 billion per year for its media rights for IPL T20. And of course, there are other people as well. You've got $1.2 billion for Mumbai and Reliance Jio, and there's so much more. And why? Well, from Arya's perspective, the new generation of cricket players make it all happen. Shubman Gill, he reads bowlers from a distance. When you watch him bat, it's almost as if he knows what the bowler is going to do in advance. He has too much time to put the ball wherever he wants to. His style of cricket is just amazing, and he just adapts his style to pacers, to spinners, and no matter what you throw at him, he looks relaxed. He knows what he's going to do with the ball even before the bowler has bowled the ball. So I get it. Badminton is something I would like to surprise you with. Adam is a bull as a trader. MT5 is his world, and he loves badminton. And I can understand it. I mean, Kuala Lumpur is very much badminton territory. It's not the only one. There are many areas that like badminton heavily. And I understand, Adam, because Akane Yamaguchi, as a badminton player, is an animal. She is so fast. When she smashes a shuttlecock, she smashes at 300 kilometers an hour. She's so fast, her speed and control, I get it. I 100% understand it. And the margin between winning and losing in badminton is always so narrow. It's like a tight spread in we've been training. She's aggressive. She has a technical touch. She's double world champion. From a financial perspective, badminton is tiny. So you have some work with Fox Sports Asia, and even Denmark is big for badminton sponsoring, but the numbers are tiny compared to the other sports. So I believe, Adam, when Adam tells me that sponsorship and media rights for badminton are going to be much more valuable in the future. At the moment, badminton is cheap. It's cheap to sponsor badminton, which surprises me. I put it in because I think badminton in the future is going to be something very relevant in sports. I like playing badminton. I think it's fun. I'm really bad at it. I play tennis much better. There we go. Then another sport which I would like to surprise you with is UFC. Hayu is from Shanghai. And Hayu is a UFC fan, totally. He plays Tekken 7, ultra-aggressive games all the time. He's an IB and a trader. He likes the mobile apps, so he's totally on that side. He likes to watch his favorite UFC star, Zhang Weili, on pay-per-view. Now, why is that relevant? Well, Zhang Weili is maybe not famous where you live, in the city where you live, but Zhang Weili, well, she did achieve over 1 million pay-per-view views when she fought Amanda Lemos recently on UFC. So 1 million pay-per-view views in China alone for Zhang Weili. Those are big numbers. So how much does a pay-per-view cost? Times 1 million just for one fight, just for one country. Sweet. And of course, there's a lot more business afterwards and all the branding that goes around it. Very, very, very nice. I mean, the 1 million pay-per-view, that's some of the ticket sales. And like I said earlier, the majority of the money sits with media rights and with sponsorships. So she's a big money spender for UFC. UFC as a sport is totally designed for today's media. That's the reason UFC exists. And I think UFC is going to have a big future from a commercial standpoint, from a financial standpoint. The media rights right now, well, ESPN is paying $1 billion per year for the UFC media rights. You've got BT Sports with $500 million, DAZN, $300 million, the Tencent Sports in China is paying $200 million. And just a UFC Fight Pass is something that they've sold for $100 million. So those are big things. And the sponsorship business is also good. So UFC, that's the next generation. Some Crypto.com are paying $100 million a year for their sponsorship. Venom, $100 million a year. Monster Energy, the drink Monster Energy, they're paying $50 million per year for their sponsorship. DraftKings, $30 million. In Toyota is spending $20 million per year on sponsoring UFC. So UFC, Hayu, I get it. As a media product, because of the sponsorship of the media rights, UFC is something we're going to hear a lot more about. It really works for social media. It's a very successful thing. And then we come to football or soccer, if you prefer that word. Now, Lucas in Brazil just woke up because the time difference is such that I speak for so long that he has started to wake up even before I've finished speaking. Football is huge. In the world of football, you have many things. You have FIFA, you have UEFA, you have the Champions League, you have the German Bundesliga, you have the Americans, you have the English Premier League, you have the Spaniards, you have La Liga. There's so many different tournaments going on. If you only look at the English Premier League, only that little thing, the EPL, then the 5-year period that we're living in right now was $28 billion, split per year on $2.2 billion for Sky Sports and $1.5 billion for BT Sports, $1 billion Amazon Prime, $500 million ESPN Plus, $500 million for Tencent in China. So that's the annual spend on only one league, and there are so many other leagues. So football as a media business is big. Lucas loves it, the beautiful game. And I can understand why. I mean, you have superstars like Erling Haaland, Alfie Haaland's son now, who now plays for Manchester City, just where his father used to play previously. In the 2022-2023 season, Erling Haaland scored 36 EPL goals in one season, which is a record for the English Premier League. He's a treble winner already now. He's the top champion in Champions League scorer. He's only 23 years. He's bigger than I am. He's about this much bigger than I am. Big, heavy guy playing centre forward for Manchester City. So I get it, Lucas. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot to get involved with. And as a media product, soccer really works. There are also spin-off products coming from football, like fantasy football. So these are sports derivatives based on brands. Many leagues. And just the Paris-based Soar, the French company Soar, they have a 4.3 billion company valuation now. That's only for one fantasy league company. And inside that little 4.3 billion fantasy league company, you have NFTs, these non-fungible tokens. So you can buy Pelé and you can buy Ronaldinho, you can buy Messi as an NFT inside Soar. And for that, the Soar pays $30 million per year just to the English Premier League for the rights to the players of today. In terms of the older players, they have separate deals with each player. And there are also other clubs and leagues like the NBA, MLB, etc., where Soar pays money in order to have those stars inside their world of NFTs. And that's only one company. There are many others. Socios is another of these NFT outfits. So you can monetize football in many ways. You can monetize all of these sports in many new ways. So fantasy football, fantasy leagues of all types are very interesting new ways of monetizing sports. So let's put this in perspective. We're talking about billions here, big billions that people are spending for the media rights. In that context, I find it interesting to look at the moon landing. Now, StarTrader is all about space and the moon, etc. At the Dubai Forex trade show, we had a huge moon on our stand, for example. So I'm always excited when I see something about space and all about the moon. India put a satellite on the south pole of the moon. The cost of putting that satellite there was $74 million. Now, $74 million compared to all the billions that we just spoke about is very little money. If StarTrader goes to YouTube and tries to advertise on YouTube, then the best form of advertising is with non-interruptible ads, where the customer cannot just click and get rid of the ad, where the customer has to see the ad and then the ad goes away. That's annoying for you as a customer. That's annoying for me as a customer. But those are the best ads. Those non-interruptible ads on YouTube cost about 10 cents each to buy. Okay, 10 cents each. Okay, so 74 million. Well, if you look at the moon landing, then the TV coverage in India achieved about 750 million views in India alone. Big views where people watch the full event. Well, that means approximately 10 cents per view media for the moon landing. So in terms of promoting the country and whoever's running the country right now, yeah, the moon landing was a really good media buy and a superb media buy compared to sponsoring Manchester City Football Club. So let's put this in perspective. I just think it's quite fun to put the moon landing in a media context. Another thing which is relevant for sports is sports betting. Now, during 2023, the forecast that I think is most reliable is that there will be somewhere around 93 billion, maybe 100 billion of sports bets in the world. Okay, now the deals that you see between individuals and the big sports betting brands and the clubs and the sports betting brands, those deals are still very simple. You pay a lump sum of money and you get your logotype on a t-shirt. That's typically how it works today. That's not very advanced. It would be more interesting to do something which is revenue share based in some way. But the two industries don't quite understand each other. In the world of sports betting, you have how much people bet, and then how much the casino or the bookmaker makes, which is the gross gaming revenue. And then there are some direct costs associated with that, such as payment fees, which brings you the net gaming revenue, or the NGR. Now, from a sports book's perspective, or from a casino's perspective, if you do a revenue share deal, you want to do that on the NGR level, and you definitely do not want to do it on the gross amount bet. It's just difficult to work it like that. So the two industries don't really, I think there's scope to improve that. And a little bit is just how well you know each other, because many of the betting companies are offshore companies where the ownership picture perhaps is a little bit unclear. So trust is a big issue between these things. I think there's scope to do very much more in the world of sports betting for both sides. And obviously that needs to be done in a manner which is safe for us who like to bet. The addictive behaviors are always something to keep an eye on, to protect people from. And the betting companies are doing a lot of interesting things. So you have a lot of product diversification going on right now with in-game betting on different types. So, yep, and around those new products like in-game betting, you can do special sponsorships around those. You can slice and dice the media in many ways. So, yep, I think there's scope to improve the business very much there. Going back to playing football, I'd like to go to my beloved club where I grew up most of my life, Chelsea Football Club. So my beloved club is not doing very well right now, but over the last year, the club has spent around $1 billion on buying players. We still can't score goals, but okay, that one club, Chelsea Football Club, has spent about $1 billion buying players. The reason I mentioned this $1 billion number is that it's roughly the same amount of money that Saudi Arabian clubs in total have spent on buying players in the same time period. Now, that makes Chelsea the biggest buyer of players over the last 12 months. However, if you go a little bit further back so that you include Erling Haaland and a couple of other players, then Manchester City is the club that has spent the most money on players most recently. But I'm just putting these things in perspective. So buying players is something that these clubs are really spending money on. So what does the future look like for football? Well, we have the Champions League, which is a media event which is controlled by UEFA, one organization. We have the World Cup in football, which is a media event which is controlled by FIFA, a different organization. And then, just to put that in perspective, with all due respect to the other leagues in the world, let's just put that in the perspective of the English Premier League. So the English Premier League and FIFA with its World Cup and UEFA with the Champions League, they're roughly the same size in terms of media rights and sponsorships. Okay, so how can they grow? Well, FIFA is making a big aggressive move together with Saudi Arabia. They've looked at the EPL, they've looked at the Champions League, and they've worked out, okay, we need to do something with club football, and they're doing it. So the FIFA World Cup in club football is happening in 2025. It's a 32-team tournament over a 1-month period, and Riyadh's Al Hilal will play. This tournament will put Saudi Arabia on the map for club football worldwide. We're going to have groups like Inter Miami, David Beckham's club, together with clubs like Real Madrid, together with Al Hilal. We might even see a match where we have Ronaldo's club play against Messi's club at the FIFA Club World Cup in 2025. As a media opportunity, this is incredible. The amount of money that can be made around this in terms of sponsorships, media rights, awesome. Very exciting move by FIFA and very aggressive relative to UEFA and tournaments like the EPL. So let's see what that world brings. The world of sport is changing quickly because of media rights and sponsorships and product diversification. So hey, let's all become superstars and let's all make our children into sports superstars. That makes sense, or does it really? It's not that easy to become a sports superstar. Let's compare it with acting for a moment. What's the probability of becoming a media star in acting, of becoming a Bollywood star or a Hollywood star? Well, looking at London's drama school, RADA, which is the top acting school in London, there are 121 applicants per place. It's very difficult to get into RADA. Put that in context. The University of Cambridge, which is one of the finest universities in the world, gets 6 applicants per place, whereas RADA gets 121 applicants per place. So if you feel that you want to be an actor, you have a 1 in 121 chance of getting into RADA. If you get in and you successfully get out with good papers from RADA, what happens? Typically, you have about 30 auditions for one job, between 5 and 100, but typically about 30 auditions for one job. So what's an audition? Well, an audition is something which costs you time, because you need to do somewhere between 5 and 8 pages of script reading. You need to film yourself, you need to do self-tape, so this is a professional thing, it takes a long time to do this. And after that, if you're lucky, hey, maybe you get the part. Otherwise, you have to do 30 more before you get one part. And you get competition from Nepo babies. So Nepo babies in the world of media is nepotism, bred babies. So there's a fantastic role for this Bollywood film. Good. You audition, you really try, or Hollywood. And then someone's brother and someone's sister comes in and takes your part simply because they're better connected than you are. Those are Nepo babies, and it's a real problem in the world of Hollywood and Bollywood. Out of the people who do get a job, only 25% of the actors who have a job in 1 year, only 25% still have a job in the next year. So 3/4 have one job but then not. 70% of all actors only ever achieve one job in their life as an actor. And only 15% of all the actors that are professional actors, only 15% of these actors exclusively live from acting income. So it's difficult. Supply is globalizing, demand is fragmenting. It's difficult. If you look at sports, 0.01%, 0.01% of the top club 15-year-olds who have a contract at the age of 15 become professional sports people. So if you want to be like Boris Becker, who won Wimbledon at the age of 17 in 1985, the odds are against you. As long as you're happy to live with very low probability, then maybe that's something you could go for. But let's keep it in context. Becoming a sports star, becoming a media star is a low probability game. Still people do it, and still people succeed. So game on that. I mean, look at LeBron James, look at Serena Williams, UFC fighter from China, Ali Warland, Noguchi from Japan, the badminton player, Patrick Mahomes, the NFL quarterback, Kohli, cricket. Game on, they don't mind. If the odds are against them, they are in it. Game on, they want to play. So regardless of how you want to play it, as a trader, all I can say on behalf of StarTrader, let's do it. Join us now. Let's do some trading. Some trading is low risk, some trading is high risk. Understand what you're doing and join us now, and welcome. Thank you.